Hi, I'm Florian. I'm a professional options and futures trader, and this is going to be my weekly watch list for the week starting on the 5th of May, 2025. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to start off on the SPY here. Obviously, looking back at the week we had a really strong bullish week after this Wednesday reversal where it looked like we were rejecting this area here, but then just off the open just started pumping and just have seen upside since then. Remember, this week is also going to be FOMC, so that has to be kept in mind as well going forward. But looking at the SPY, it just seems like the pullback is likely here. Like it just seems overdue a little bit. But then again, it's setting up nicely for this hold of these recent highs from over here, and just generally this kind of pattern on the hourly. And I feel like this zone is quite significant. If you look back at what kind of zone it is, it's a previous all-time high zone, which held on the retest back all the way back in October last year. So it does seem like a pretty significant zone, and thus a hold would be nice here. A dip below is also possible, obviously, but I don't know. It just seems more likely to just continue higher here. But I just think, just structure-wise, a pullback would just be a lot more healthy. If you're looking at the Qs, you can also see a lot of upside from the Qs after holding this really important zone on that Wednesday session after trying to reject below it. And I've just seen super strong upside since then, also on the back of like Microsoft and Amazon earnings, which were quite positive. But the same kind of idea here. It's approaching the 200 daily now, which is quite dangerous. So I do think a short-term pullback into like the 480 area, 481 area could be quite interesting and definitely be on the table in the coming week. Again, with FOMC, we'll have to see. It might be some slower trading Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then some, depending on how FOMC goes, trading afterwards. Obviously, it's going to depend a lot on what Jay Powell actually says in his commentary regarding rate cuts going forward, as I feel like the market with the positive jobs numbers and just general other PMI coming in pretty well, like PMI prices coming in well. So no real like uptick in inflation just yet. Earnings being nice, the market seems pretty bullish, but from a fundamental viewpoint, but we obviously want to look at the structure of the market. Then next up, IWM. As every week, I kind of want to look at the small caps as well. But here it's looking really, really nice. It broke above these recent lows here. And I think any pullbacks into here are a lot stronger than Qs and SPY as well on the pullbacks. Any pullbacks into here, which just cleanly hold, I think have a lot of upside in them. And I would definitely be looking to play these longs. Just going down to the hourly, it doesn't really look that strong for upside continuation. So literally like you want to wait for the pullback into 1975 for these holds of these lows and these lows back inside of these highs here back inside for the upside continuation higher. So I think that looks really nice. Then we're moving on to some stocks now. So Google had earnings right last week and then pulled back over the week, like the week before, and now over last week it pulled back, but then actually was able to reverse off that Wednesday as well, holding this really important support zone I was actually watching. And obviously, if you saw my other videos, I took quite a few Google trades this week as well, which I thought they just had some really nice upside in them, especially on this Friday session, opening up higher, holding these highs, and then for more upside here. Now it kind of stalled into the afternoon, which is why I think that a proper retest of this break higher seems pretty nice here. So if we were to retest the 164 area and then see upside continuation higher, I think that could be a nice play for the coming week if we just see some more upside here. Then next up, the next stock I want to talk about is Coinbase. Again, the sequence of these stocks doesn't really mean anything. It's just the way I kind of have it set up. So looking at this Coinbase stock for the coming week, I just think there's a lot of upside pressure. The daily doesn't look great. I'll totally admit it. The way the daily finish doesn't look great, but I think the 4-hour has a lot of like upside pressure with Bitcoin being strong as well. I feel like Coinbase hasn't really moved according to that. So I think breaks higher above like the Friday highs, the Thursday highs for the upside continuation, I think are really strong here. If we can see a nice break and retest, they do have earnings next week as well, which is quite important to keep in mind. But I think generally that's an idea to follow. Then next up, Amazon. Amazon is at this really big rejection zone, which we saw post earnings on Friday to already start to reject here. In my last trade recap video, I talked about how there was a trade here. I do think that there's clearly still rejection potential, though I do feel like the support lower at 87 seems kind of strong here. And therefore, I'm not sure if the short is like a long-term play. Maybe if you can get clean risk to get a good R ratio, then you can get some downside for the through. But until then, I think the strongest setup, if it does occur, would be the break higher, break above these highs, and then pull back, holding it back inside, and then kind of like rejecting the rejection zone for more upside continuation post earnings here. So I do think that there's some upside in that, because I think below is just support, support, support unless we break, and therefore I don't think it would be that wise to short into this if the risk isn't good. Then next up we have Nvidia. As I've been saying, like, Nvidia has not been nice to trade here. I still do think it's not really that nice. It doesn't show as much strength as the entire market, but also it just doesn't really want to get downside further through. So it kind of just sideways and then like makes a lot of moves overnight, but that's kind of it. But what we are seeing on Nvidia is that it is back at this really strong rejection zone here, and therefore I do think that the pullback into the week as well, like especially on like a weaker market, can lead to some downside here. If we can get a nice trend switch here and then break lower, like below 114, and like the Friday low area here, kind of where this green line is, but also the low of Friday is, for then the break and retest lower here, I think it's really, really strong setup actually going into the week early on, pre FOMC, like in the coming like Monday or on Tuesday. I think this could be something that could develop here. Apple saw some bearish rejection post earnings here on Friday. So all I'm looking for is bounce fades into this kind of uptrend here, which it broke, kind of confirming this breakout here of the trend line for the move lower, at which point like 200 area does become dangerous for supporting it. But if we do see bounce fades, it is interesting. I also think on the hourly, it looks quite nice for like a break and retest lower here, as it's kind of the support area which is shaping up. So a break and retest lower could be something, but then again the 200 zone does become kind of dangerous here, and as Apple is not the nicest stock to trade anyways, I think the bounce fade is just better in this kind of scenario. Then next up we have JP Morgan, which saw some really nice upside follow through, like just opening up way higher here on Friday after being able to kind of break and close above on the Thursday session, which I saw this on Friday and I was really upset that the long was kind of gone because it opened up so much higher. But now it's back at this big rejection zone. So I do think if we can see some struggles emerge here, a pullback, either you trade to pull back lower into the support zone at 246, or you simply just, if you can't see the setup, you just wait for the stock to pull back into that area, and then you can confidently long this stock, as I think the upside is definitely given here if the market doesn't just dump again. So I think this is a pretty strong setup as well. And then next up, we have Marvell. Marvell obviously saw a lot of downside here during the Trump tariff news, but now was able to like kind of fight back above, and now it's back above a nice support area, which I had marked out from like just generally how Marvell has been trading, and it's also back above these highs that we saw on like Thursday, but also that Trump reaction on when he said that he was going to postpone tariffs, where the crazy thing happened, right? And it's kind of setting up for a hold here. I do think, like, if it were to break Friday's lows, as long as we're still above the Thursday high here and like close above it, I think there's still upside continuation here. Though that does have to happen. I think either are fine, either the quick continuation higher or on a weaker market consolidating here a bit more is also fine still. So I don't think just because we were to break Friday's low, the SERP is gone. It's just about holding this general area and then finding an entry for the move higher. Then next up, we have Uber, which saw some nice. Obviously, Uber we've been watching for quite a while, right? And it held these highs here. Sorry, my voice is going crazy. It held these highs here for the upside move, and then we saw some just really strong buying on this Wednesday session as well. And now we're able to break above February highs, and we didn't really retest it, we just broke above it. So when the retest does come, I think it is going to be pretty strong here for the break and retest play. The daily looks nice, projecting this rejection candle here. Obviously also earnings next week, which has to be kept in mind. But other than that, I think pullback holds just for some upside here look really strong, maybe also in combination with earnings. the earnings rejection could be interesting here. Then I think Tesla is actually setting up really, really bullish here. So maybe we see a really nice week out of Tesla, though it has just been struggling with this 200 daily here and just hasn't seen a lot of follow through to the upside over the last 2 days. But if you look at this 4 hour, you can just see the upside pressure, which if there is a break above, which I don't know if there will be, but if there is a break above, and then the retest hold, this will be a really strong serve, right? As it's just shaping up really nice. It's also shaping up to make this hourly higher low here. If we see a nice open on Monday for the just quick exit. So I would already be like confidently long, even if it hasn't broken the highs, if this hourly higher low looks really clean for the upside. So that is something to be kept in mind as well on Tesla here. Next stock, Oracle, which has seen a lot of upside post Microsoft earnings. Obviously, they're closely related. But it's now back at this rejection zone, which we have been watching for quite a while. It's just like clearly with these lows an important zone. And therefore, the trend switch turnaround, as you can already see, is starting to struggle at the zone. Like seeing more of a double top here on the 4 hour, or however it's shaping up, just a trend switch for the retracement lower, at which point we would kind of look for the pullback hold, obviously. But there's quite some downside in this, I think, before we actually need to be careful about support. So this could be an interesting short if it does develop. I do think, though, it will be like a difficult short. Next up, Visa. Visa has, I don't know, Visa looks like the 4 hour looks really bad, like bearish on a break below and retest. But also I like the support below. And generally, Visa is just a bullish stock, in my opinion. And obviously it doesn't move that much. But if the setup is there, if the break of Friday's low is there and the clean retest is there, I do think this is a short that is worth taking just because how strong the 4 hour looks. Next up, we have Salesforce, which just completely rejected this kind of rejection area here, which I was watching, and was able to actually hold above. The idea is just continued holds, but also I think the 4 hour looks pretty nice for some upside continuation on just a nice break higher here. So either ones are fine. Either just a straight continuation higher before then eventually we see the pullback, or the immediate pullback which holds, which would be obviously a bit less bullish, but would give a quicker setup for us here. Then next up we have Snowflake, where we are just moving into a zone which I'm watching for potential rejection. It has been behaving pretty bullish, though earnings are quite some time out. We could see like a short-term rejection trying to develop here on a trend switch, consolidating around the zone, but also breaks above and holds are nice. It's just something to watch. Like both, like it's just super tradable, right? Both sides seem fine here, but it's not like A+ setup here. But both sides are tradable for sure. Then next up, Morgan Stanley, I thought looked really, really nicely here on the move higher ever since like last week, as it made this daily high low. And it's just been able to continue to show strength here, breaking out nicely on Friday, similar to JP Morgan did, right? So again, same idea. I'm trying to long these pullbacks into 118 here for the upside continuation out of MSS, right? As well. The daily looks pretty strong, so I wouldn't be surprised if we just see a straight up continuation as well, as the daily just looks like this super clean breakout candle, which just I think has a lot of potential to just see follow through higher for now, and then just see the pullback a bit later. But either one are fine, so I'm definitely watching this long here. I'm not interested in a short at all. Next stock we are going to look at is PayPal. PayPal is just not a nice stock to trade, but it is back above these lows. So it could be some upside continuation here on this clean hold. Usually PayPal is just super choppy, doesn't really like stick to zones. So it's kind of like a careful watch here, right? Moving on, Roku saw some earnings downside here. So bounce fades into this area are fine. Immediate shorts here just seems a bit dangerous on kind of this clear support area here. But if we do see downside continuation, because I do think the daily does kind of indicate it, during the week we could see some like break and retests develop here, either around these lows or around kind of this area here on the Friday reaction. But these lows definitely seem like, as you can see, like they're just super strong lows, right? Which you just want to definitely keep in mind and don't want to go short into them, only like further above, right? Then Walmart has seen definitely a lot of strength, hasn't really pulled back yet out of this breakout here that we saw during the week. So just the pullback holds into here are quite interesting. I think the daily does look a bit overextended here. So pullbacks are quite significant. And then I think there's just so much upside because this is clearly December last year, now clearly an important zone at the 96s, 95s. So that it has to be kept in mind as well. Earnings next week, so that's totally fine as well. Then next up, MasterCard, similar to Visa, has seen a lot of strength, but it's kind of moving into this big overhead supply area potential, and therefore pullback into maybe the 540s even, or just a short-term short here seem okay. Breaks above for longs, yeah, maybe. I don't like this whole choppiness up here though, so not really that interested in it. Then next up, we see a firm still at like kind of rejection zone here. Like we've saw some really strong lows here earlier this year, and then the reaction here as well in March. So for now, it seems a bit dangerous. Though I do think breaks above and then retest holds eventually, not like necessarily immediately for just for the like failed breakout potential, but when they do occur, like just clean break and retest on like kind of the high time frames, like 4 hour, hourly, daily, whatever, I think are going to be setting up a lot of upside here. And a firm is a stock that can move quickly. So that is something to be kept in mind. Earnings are on Thursday though, so be careful to there as well. Then Broadcom, I'm still just waiting for this kind of pullback into the 197s area, as that is going to be super strong. But for now, the dailies don't look nice. The 4 hours are just kind of consolidating. It's just opening up higher both days. Yeah, it did like, and just holding like nicely off the open immediately, but not really giving a setup that well. So I do think like just a nicer pullback for the just a better setup is kind of in the cards here. I think AMD looks really, really strong here as it's kind of recapturing above these lows and now was able to break out of these resistance areas. They do have earnings very early Tuesday though, so that has to be kept in mind. The daily doesn't look the greatest either, but I still think the 4 hour looks amazing. I think the hourly looks okay. Maybe a deeper pullback into the 97s first here. And again, the earnings have to be kept in mind as well, so watch out for that. Then Disney was able to make some upside follow through here on this daily high low that it made on Wednesday. Continued just holds of these highs for more upside are definitely in the cards. I think the hourly looks pretty nice for just a flush lower to then hold these highs here for the upside continuation higher. So nice long here. Qualcomm quickly, very bearish earnings reaction. Bounce fades of like just this zone where it struggled, and generally like this kind of turnaround area for the daily lower high, and then I think we see a lot of downside out of Qualcomm if that does occur. So definitely keep that in mind. Reddit, obviously the stock I was playing, I sold my position I think on Tuesday, so that I was already out and waiting for this retest, and earnings came in and just kind of seen weakness now on Friday. Just continuing to look for this hold at like the 106, 105 area here if it does pull back further, as the daily does look like it wants some more pullback here. If it fails back below, the play's kind of out for now, but if it doesn't, then I think these holds are pretty strong, as well as like taking earnings volatility out of it now. Then Intel is just super choppy stock. I do think though this kind of trend line break here high could be interesting. Pepsi just still waiting for this break and retest here post like earnings, so that's just something to develop. Adobe, I think rejections of this area can become interesting. The Adobe options are just so shit to trade, so like I watch it but I don't really trade it, to be totally honest. So next up we have Micron here, which is made this daily high low here on the Wednesday session, and I'm just looking for this big rejection zone above to kind of reject on the retest. I do think though shorter term on the 4 hour, you can see it's just setting up this really nice upside continuation here on like this hourly higher low, which I think is going to be really, really strong trade on Monday off the open if it does open up nicely and is able to hold above for just a bounce higher into this rejection zone. Then next, City also saw some strong upside, like all the banking stocks on Friday here. Pullback holds are kind of the name of the game here, breaking out this consolidation over the days that were ahead of the breakout. Then Starbucks, just a quick watch, very bearish earnings rejection, on Wednesday, but then was able to kind of retrace the whole dump. Already, it's now back at this kind of dump point. Either we see just a continuation high and then eventual break and retest, or like pullback holds here, rather of these highs, or we see this rejection, or which I don't know if I like the short here too much, to be honest. But I do think that now that we've retraced it, we could see some downside pressure as kind of people are getting out for break even in a way. Then CrowdStrike, I was looking for the stock play of this Wednesday daily high low, which being said, just couldn't find a quite nice entry. But I'm definitely continuing to watch this, maybe like a quick pullback here into these highs. I don't really like the long pullback into the 420s because I don't think it'll look nice on the daily. But I think the quick pullback, like intraday pullback to 430, could lead to some upside. And then just Robinhood and Roblox, I don't think there are setups there. I just wanted to keep them on here on the list. So that was the weekly watch list. For all the stocks that I'm watching. As you can see, the market has been incredibly bullish recently. And I do look for kind of pullbacks now, just for me to be able to trade my strategy. I do think there are rejection potentials above, especially with FOMC ahead. I do think that first 3 days could be kind of slower trading, and then we see some nice trading into the end of the week. But I'll keep you updated with trade recaps, potentially daily watch lists, and all that good stuff. So with that being said, stay safe out there, traders. STG.